Hi, my name is Melinda Bachini. I'm the Director of Advocacy with the Cholangiocarcinoma Foundation, and I'm also a 12-year survivor of stage 4 cholangiocarcinoma. I'm excited today to talk to you a little bit about my cancer journey and my experience with clinical trials, and hopefully bring a little information about clinical trials to those of you who are wanting to learn more about being in a clinical trial. So I'm from Billings, Montana. I'm a wife, a mother of 6, and a grandmother to 1. And I just want to tell you that it was December 1st, 2009 when I received that phone call that changed my life forever. I remember that day so clearly. My children had just left for school and my husband had just left for work, and I was just about to jump into the shower when my phone rang. My gastroenterologist was on the other end, and I remember her telling me, "I'm so sorry, it wasn't on my radar, but you have cancer." And I remember telling her I was so sorry too, and then I didn't hear a word she said. It kind of went blank, and everything she said after that didn't stick in my memory. All I could think of is, "You have cancer." I called my husband home, we had a good cry, and he had to call my doctor back and get the information because I honestly couldn't remember anything she said after "you have cancer." We were told that it was most likely cholangiocarcinoma, and my husband and I had never heard of it before. We were like, "Cholangio what?" We were told that it was a rare cancer, usually diagnosed in late stages. There was no potential cure. The only chance for a possible cure was surgery. There was no proven chemotherapy regimen, and even if you were fortunate enough to be able to have surgery, the recurrence rate was quite high. So I remember our first major decision to be made was to find a surgeon. Who would we choose? Where would we go? We sought a second opinion at Mayo Clinic, and for personal reasons, I chose to stay home in Billings, Montana and have my surgery here. And so 3 weeks after my diagnosis, I had major liver surgery. It lasted 6 hours, and they removed about 2/3 of my liver. This was the tumor they removed from the liver and the scar that it has left me. Unfortunately, 3 months later, it returned in my lungs. And it was at that time that for the first time I was told or read that I was a stage 4 terminal cancer patient. I knew enough or had done enough research at that time to know that I needed to find something new, that what was out there wasn't going to cure me. And at 41 years old with 6 children at home, I knew we had to find something better. So I immediately wanted to look for a clinical trial. I asked my local oncologist to please be aggressive to find a clinical trial. That's what I wanted to do right away. And he did find a clinical trial. Unfortunately, at that time, 12 years ago, my health insurance would not cover the standard of care costs that went into participating in a clinical trial. I didn't even know that was possible to happen at the time, that could happen. And I almost remember feeling more devastated than at my official cancer diagnosis, because you were given this dismal diagnosis, and then you thought, okay, I can try something new. I can enter into a clinical trial. And then that possibility was taken away too. So that was my first taste of being a patient advocate. I went to the Capitol in the state of Montana with some other cancer patients. We told our story, and we were able to get a law passed that said that insurance companies had to cover the standard of care costs that went along with cancer patients participating in clinical trials. And that was the first time I told my story. I really realized that you could make a difference. Up until that point, I guess I wasn't convinced that that could happen. So we did seek another second opinion at Mayo Clinic. And because my insurance wouldn't cover those standard of care costs, I didn't enter into the clinical trial because I absolutely did not want to put my family in financial burden or financial stress. If I were to die and leave them, I didn't want to leave them financially in any poor shape or worse shape or bankruptcy than before. So I chose not to enter into that clinical trial so we wouldn't have that financial burden. And I went ahead and started the standard of care chemotherapy, knowing that it was just palliative and not a curative option. So it began the chemo combination of gemcitabine and cisplatin, and I soon found out that chemo stinks. The pictures show me 6 months prior to chemo and 6 months after chemo, and the physical toll that it takes on your body. I would have gladly endured chemo, knowing that there was a possibility for a cure or a possibility to have good quality of life. But I did this chemo regimen for about 6 months before the toxicity set in. And I started having ringing in my ears, neuropathy in my hands and feet, and a bonus of steroid psychosis, which was not fun at all. So they took away the cisplatin chemo and left me on gemcitabine alone, which caused my cancer to spread from my lungs back to my liver. They then tried one other chemotherapy that didn't do anything for my tumors to shrink, but did cause a lot more toxicity. And it was at that point where I had to choose quality versus quantity. It was a horrible decision to make. I did not want my children to think I was giving up or that they weren't worth me suffering going through another treatment to be here longer. But my quality of life was so poor. I was in bed all the time. I was sick all the time that I wanted whatever time I had left to be quality time that I could spend with them and make memories. Fortunately, miraculously, I stumbled upon a clinical trial on my own.